This week on part 2 of the Real Housewives of Orange County reunion.
This is my job, and I've been here for 10 years.
My job
I took your job 10 years ago. I'm still sitting here.
It's fine. And I came back 10 years later, didn't I?
Yeah, but you're a friend. As a friend.
That's still a job. Shannon, it's still.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the Real Housewives of Orange County Season 18 reunion. This is part 2. This was a great reunion, so let's go right into it. Okay, so we start this second part by finishing up where we left last week. Emily Simpson being extremely aggressive and going in on Jen. She is acting as if she knows more about Ryan than Jen does. And Emily is demanding in which way Jen should be acting. And she shouldn't be defending her man like Timey Wynette. I'm a lawyer. I know this stuff. It's ridiculous. Listen, is Jen a little naive? Yes, of course. But is she a bad person who deserves to have these women screaming at her? No. Jen says that at the end of the day, Ryan is okay and he has nothing going his way. Nothing negative is coming at him. Andy then asks Tamra about that cease and desist that she received from Ryan recently. And Tamra tries to explain that Ryan had been coming at her and Eddie, and that when she went on Watch What Happens Live, she was completely caught off guard and she butchered her words and misspoke. But you guys, she sure was quick to say, I was wrong, I apologize, I shouldn't have done that, I'm sorry. You see, when you're faced with real consequences, you're not going to be acting all crazy like you're doing on the show. And listen, to say that you stole money from a certain person, like, these are pretty serious things to be accusing someone of. Tamra says that the reason she even turned on Ryan earlier this season was because, or like when she turned on him when the couples were at Katie's for dinner, was because of the things that Ryan had been saying that were negative about not just her, but Eddie as well online. And Jen says pretty much, well, what do you expect? Every action has a reaction. You thought you were going around talking about this man relentlessly last season. You think he's not going to say anything? Jen lets Tamra know that her behavior at Katie's house was unacceptable. And I love that Jen says to her, by the way, Tamra, where did Eddie sleep that night? And Tamra says, my bed. And Jen says, oh, that's not what I heard. I heard one of you had to go sleep in la casita because he was mad at you for the way you behaved. So then Andy reads a question. Why wasn't Jen more mad at Shannon, since at the end of the day, the thing about the private investigator also involved Shannon? And Jen simply says, because she believes in Shannon, and since that thing, Shannon has shown loyalty towards her. Same with Gina. Gina accepted Shannon's apology and we were able to move forward. Although Emily yet again gets in the conversation and says that she's taking credit for Shannon and Gina coming together. Emily, please stop. Tamra says that she feels horrible about the last lunch in London and says that she was not being malicious in the finale when she wore that FBI hat. Again, you guys, typical Tamra, act like the worst person during the season, and then come the reunion, you're acting like a good Christian woman. Also, I loved Jen checking Heather Dubrow, because Jen says that last year Jen asked Heather, are you and Tamra close? And according to Jen, Heather had said to her she's a historical friend. So, of course, Heather denies it. But what was the best part, just to kind of wrap this first part up, was Jen really, really putting Tamra in her place by saying, you take things to a very different extreme level, and I'm not the only one that feels like that. You are vicious. And Tamra can't really say much other than she's sorry and she's starting therapy, so it'll be okay. You know what, you guys? I think that Tamra probably saw the reaction that us fans had as we were watching this season towards her horrible, revolting behavior. So I guess she's trying to do damage control. Okay, so then we move on. They look at some of the scenes of the trip to London, which had some pretty funny moments. So they joke about the enigma. How do you pronounce that thing that Shannon took? Gina talking about Travis's sack. Emily brushing her teeth with soda, and then the turbulence on the plane. They then discuss the drama that happened towards the beginning of the season, which was Gina and Emily being very mean towards Jen and getting all up on her business about her financial issues. Remember, they were constantly bringing her finances up and what watch was she wearing and what dress was she wearing. Emily says that her anger came from her mom and the things that she went through in her childhood, which I understand, but just because you can explain it doesn't mean you can excuse your behavior. Jen says that she is starting to be more aware of her payments, like her car payments and things like that. It was nice to hear that not long ago, Gina and Jen actually returned to that little coffee shop where they got into that fight to sort of heal, so they're good now. Andy asks Jen what did she think of Heather gossiping about her $2,000 dress. And Jen says, well, Ryan bought it for her. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal. Heather says, well, you had told me that you were going through financial issues, and when I walked into the store and I saw it and I looked at the price, and Katie says, well, why did you even look at the price? Because that's mean girl behavior, which I agree, because it wasn't just like, oh, Heather goes to the store and looks at the dress. No, she, number one, asked for the price. Number two, who did she call? The messiest woman on here, Tamra. So that absolutely was mean girl behavior, but all of them on that right couch. No, that's not mean girl behavior. What are you talking about? Poor Katie. Andy asks Jen about the payments that the court ordered her ex-husband to pay her, and she says that no, she has not received them as she's supposed to. She has gotten some bits. There have been some payments made, but it's not what he is for, like what he's required to do, and he's an attorney, so it doesn't really make sense why he wouldn't follow through with that. And he's not replying to her. She can't communicate with him. And Emily says, that's why I want you to be, good and watch for yourself. Which, again, that might be true, but she was being so annoying at this point, I just couldn't deal with her. Gina is then asked about Travis. She says that they're okay, but when it comes to Travis's ex-wife, she says there's been some really serious stuff that has happened and that it's come to a point where her children are scared. I'm really curious what this woman has done. She sounds unwell. But I respect Gina being cautious. Now that we kind of see more of the story, I respect her for putting her kids first, making sure they're okay, and still trying to hold on to Travis. So I do wish her the best. Then they break for lunch. They're all in their trailers. Alexis arrives. We see Jen and Katie talk. And Katie's standing on it that Heather is a mean girl, which I agree, as I said. And then Tamara goes to give Alexis advice, and Alexis says that she's here to speak not just for herself, but on behalf of John, to clear all the lies up. Oh boy. So then they go back to continue the reunion, and they look at a segment for Emily, as if we hadn't already heard enough of her. So we're talking about this dress thing again. We get it. She felt bad. She was triggered. We talked about it 1,000 times already. Heather says that yes, she did take a shot at Emily in her confessional by saying that the dress was actually tight on her. But she says that it's because she had been holding on to a lot of other shots that had been made towards her, but she's sorry. Then they get into this kid's drama. I didn't like it. It made me feel uncomfortable because they brought up Katie's little boy when he was, which I actually thought it was hilarious when he said to Katie, Mom, was Heather being a jerk to you for the 1,000th time? He's like, what, 5 years old? And then you have Katie explaining herself about this, but here are these two vultures coming at her. That's how they were behaving, like vultures with venom. And I'm sick of this notion of, oh, you don't talk about things in front of your kids. That's ridiculous, okay? And kids, you're living in the same damn house. And even if you might not think that they're listening, okay? Like, what do you want? Heather then says, and listen, when the way Heather was speaking to Katie, I saw a certain hatred coming from her. Like, she can't even hide it. There's something about Katie that gets under Heather's skin so much. Like, it kind of reminds me of when Kelly Dodd was on the show and Heather just couldn't even look at her. Heather says to Katie, I don't know what I've done to you, but your daughter is making TikToks about us and calling us fake ass bees, and she's talking about us to the whole world. And they get into this TikTok that Kylie made, where she was like, it was like a lip sync video, and the sound said something about fake ass bees who suck D. But all of these women were basically calling Katie a bad mother. Like every single one of them were saying things like, "My kid would never do that. It was disgusting. Why would she do that? She's got a problem with us." I could tell Andy was feeling a little bit uncomfortable too. Katie's daughter is 20. I'm 21, so she's a year younger than I am. Listen, you guys, everybody my age they do stupid TikToks. So for them to be taking this TikTok, especially Heather, all of them, and making it look like, oh my god, I kind of have a feeling that, I'm not even gonna go there, but I have a feeling that if this were if someone else's kids on these couches had done that, other than Katie, I think it wouldn't even be talked about. But I'm not even going to get into that. I just didn't like it. I thought it was so problematic for 50, almost 60-year-old women to be acting like this because of a 20-year-old. I thought it was ridiculous. So then Alexis comes out. When she comes out, she says that she's happy, she's engaged, they've set up a wedding day, blah, blah, blah. Andy asks her about her religion, and she says that she's still very spiritual, and her kids, being LGBTQ, have bonded her with Heather, and that she and Tamra squashed their beef. It's like a total love set in that side of the couch. And then Shannon's just sitting there like, get me out of here. Andy then asks about the lawsuit that Shannon is in, but Shannon says that she's waiting on John's response. I guess it hasn't really changed from when it was in the season. She offered to give him the $75,000 as long as he signed a non-disparagement agreement. When it comes to those videos that Alexis brought up, she says that she was not trying to say that they were going to be used as extortion, but it kind of sounded like extortion when if you say to someone, if you don't comply, we will put out videos where you look bad, that kind of sounds like extortion. She then says to Shannon, Alexis says to Shannon, "You have a weird relationship with the truth." And Shannon says, "Stop being John's mouthpiece." And Shannon was getting activated. She even says, "How many times did you practice saying, 'There's the door, Shannon Beador,' when there was not even a door?" And I love the way the editors kept showing a bunch of unaired footage that made Alexis just look bad. Shannon also says that Alexis clearly lied about the lawsuit, and she proves that because of that text that she found when they were in London. The lawsuit that Alexis and her ex, John Bellino, filed. Alexis says that she wasn't involved personally in the court documents or none of that. She was just involved simply because of the fact that she was his spouse at the time. Alexis then tries to explain that initial lawsuit with her ex, but Shannon's like, I won that lawsuit. This is actually crazy, you guys, because Shannon and John were dating at the time when this lawsuit was happening, and John was getting ready to fight Jim Bellino at one point. So it's kind of crazy that now Alexis is with John. Ugh, it's so bizarre. But yes, Shannon won, so she did not defame her ex-husband. But they start to go back and forth, and Shannon says, "You left 10 years ago, and I came for your place, and I'm still here." And Alexis is like, "Well, I'm back." And Shannon says, "Yeah, as a friend." And Alexis says, "Well, I've been on TV for 10 years. And Shannon says, "Oh, you're a TV star." And that's where the episode ended. Shannon saying to her, "Oh, you're a TV star." I don't know, it kind of felt Nene Leakes would say something like that, so that's why it kind of made me laugh. But yeah, I love the way Shannon is sticking up for herself and not letting Alexis play her. But yeah, you guys, that was the end of this second part. A lot of stuff on this second part, because usually when it comes to 3-part reunions, you'll have a second part that's a little boring, but this one was not boring at all. But again, you guys, I want to go back to it. Heather, Emily, all of these women harping on Katie and her daughter. I don't like it. Doesn't sit well with me. They're being over dramatic. And I don't think Kylie told no lies. But anyway, you guys, let me know what your thoughts were about this second part. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all next time. Y'all have a great one. Bye.